Welcome back, Hatt Clan fam. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all had a great 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys had a safe, fun time traveling, seeing family, friends, and a time for relaxation. Today I'm super excited because I'm going to be showcasing how to arrange or how to play my arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So if you haven't gotten an opportunity to check this out, I posted this a few days ago of my arrangement. I'll have it linked down in the description, so you should definitely check that out as a frame of reference so you know exactly where this is all coming from with my arrangement. So with all that being said, let's zoom on in and let's break this right on down. Alright, thanks for sticking around. So let's jump right on into this. So like I said, I've posted some of these videos in the past about how I've come up with different arrangements and different solo kind of fingerstyle arrangements, and I think it really at its core is a simple kind of idea. But it takes a little bit of practice. So I'm going to throw up some sheet music kind of on the screen here, and I'm going to take you through my process of how I have done this and how I arrive to any kind of arrangement. Now, these videos do take a lot of work and a lot of time and energy kind of goes into there, so definitely check out the links down below if you are interested in making a donation through the channel for all of this content. I do appreciate it. And also make sure that if you're interested in going into any of this stuff further, I do teach privately off of YouTube. So without further ado, let's get on into this. So we're going to do this kind of in like 2 different videos. I'm going to do kind of the main head, and then I'll do the bridge section in a separate video. So in other lessons that I've talked about, you have to understand that when you're solo arranging, you have to let the melody line dictate where the chords will be played and exactly where you want to play in any type of octave situation. So in the beginning here, let me just kind of give you a little playthrough of just the melody. So we have just this going on. So I'm playing that kind of all up in this position here, in kind of 5th and 8th position. But if I wanted, I could easily take this down the octave. However, that kind of lets me not have so much room to build up and down the neck because I'm limited in this one space. So I like to kind of move things up a little bit. So you'll notice on screen here where I have the sheet music that I've actually changed some of the harmonies around to make this a little bit more interesting. So I'll get into some details about that here in a moment too. But when it comes to any type of melody, as long as you keep within key centers and diatonic things like that, you can make these things a little bit more interesting, especially with a jazz piece like this. It's really at your own discretion on what kind of chord structure, chord harmonies that you like to put in here. So if I just look at this, you'll see that I have some chords slashed out and new chords written in. At its core, this is a pretty easy song. It's just C major, G major, F, back to C. So it's just a 1, 4, 5, and C. But that to me just is boring, so I want to spice this up a little bit. So I'm going to change the harmonies a little bit. So this first part, I've got C major, and I choose to go to an A minor 7 specifically. And then the next line, instead of going to G major, I go to E minor, A minor 7, and then I go back to A minor again, F, and then I go F sharp, minor 7 flat 5, and then I come up to the C7. So this first part is like this. And then that repeats again. So how I get away with that? Okay, so here's kind of at its core what's going on here. So I can always substitute a 1 chord or any major chord with its relative minor. So that's rule number 1 right off the bat. So in the case of C major, the relative minor of that is A minor. A minor and C major are very, very similar chord structure harmonically. In fact, they share 2 of the same notes, and that would be C and E. The only difference that they don't share is the G and the A. But A minor 7 in C major, if you think of A minor 7, it actually has a full C major triad in it. It has the C, E, and G. G is actually the minor 7th of A minor. But if I just play C, E, G, that's actually a C major chord. So see how they're very similar context-wise? So I can substitute that in. And going on my melody line here, I have C octaves. So instead of just playing, which would have just as worked completely fine, I wanted to spice it up a little bit, so I added in this A minor 7 chord here. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually playing a C major chord and this 8th position here out of my G chord shape, but I'm just playing the top half of it. So I'm going to have 8, 7, and then a bar on 5 to get this top C note. And then I'm jumping over to this A minor 7 on beat 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that shape, if you're not familiar with it, this is movable. I have first finger on the D string 7th fret. Pinky finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the G. And then I have 8 and 8 on the B and high E. So that's how I get my C note in the melody. So you'll notice how this is A minor 7, but this is a different voicing than this A minor 7. Or this A minor 7. If I play this version of it, I have A in the melody and not the C. So I have to be selective about how I dictate where the melody line are with the chord structure. And this is where inversions play into play, which we'll talk about that here in a minute. So here's my first part. Here's another example of where I'm using a relative minor chord instead of the G major chord as it's implied here. So E minor 7 is also very similar to G major. In fact, the only notes that are different are going to be the E note. So if I go, that's E minor. If I play this, that's G major. So I'm going to opt for playing this E minor 7 to make it again a little bit more interesting. So I have this and this second measure here. And I'm playing this, I have the B on top, so that's my melody note. Now I have, so I have to figure out, okay, well, where can I play that G? Well, I have this chord in position. My second finger's on a G note there. That's the minor 3rd of the E minor 7. So I go, and I'm going to go back to that A minor 7 already. So I have this. So you'll notice that in that context of that sounds pretty cool already. So now on the 3rd measure I have F major. And I'm opting to play F major like this in C chord position. So this is a bar at the 5th fret and then a C chord looking shape with my other finger. So it's like C major moved up here with a bar. So this is C out of your cage system. Now I have my melody note here, C, A, but that's boring after I just played that. So I want to add in more harmonic movement. So what I'm doing there is I'm opting for a F sharp diminished 7 chord, sliding it up a minor 3rd and then to my C7 here. Now, where does that come from and how does that work? So this is what's really cool about minor 7 flat 5 chords or half diminished chords is they're actually all the same notes if you move them in thirds. So the way that these notes are stacked, no matter if I move this in thirds, it will be the same chord, just in a different inversion. Now, okay, you may be asking, how does this work? So I'm considering this kind of a borrow chord in a sense. I'm thinking about borrowing this from G major. So even though this is in C, I can borrow things from other chords and other similar tonal centers. So in G major, we actually have this chord. It actually is the 7th. So we can actually borrow that, and I'm just using that from G major. And then immediately after that I'm sliding to the C7 because I have this melody note on top. So all together those first couple measures here This is going to repeat again. So now when I get to the 5th measure, the 3rd beat, I have this G with an F natural. So I want to think about, okay, well basically that's going to be implying G7. So how can I think about playing a G chord with F in the melody? So I could jump all the way down here and I could go, but that's kind of a big jump. Why would I want to do that when I'm already in position here? So check out this. This right here is a G7 chord in first inversion. So I have a B, it's my major 3rd. I have G, which is my root. I have D, which is the 5th, and I have a flat 7. So this is G7 in first inversion. So again, this is where those things kind of be dictated about where your melody is. If I play G7 here, I would have that as my melody note. I could play it here, where I have that F, or again I could play here. But I'm also thinking about, you know, compromising where my position is in my hands and not having to be moved all over the place. So there's my G7 here. So again, that is 3rd, root, 5th, and flat 7. So B, G, D, and F. So after I go from there, I have to go to C major. So I'm just opting to play regular old C major bar chord out of the caged A position. So 3rd and then 5, 5, 5. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go, so I have that D afterwards. So 1, 2, and so notice here on measure 6 that I decided to change the harmony again. Instead of playing A minor, I don't like that sound. So I'm going to do an A7. This is like, whoa, okay, so where is this coming from, right? Okay, so check this out. Now, why does this work? Okay, so this is my kind of explanation for this. This is, again, another borrowed chord. So in any instance when you're playing in a key, this is a jazz kind of idea or concept. Whenever you are doing a C to A minor, or any one chord to a relative minor, which is a 6 chord, a 1 to a 6, you can always opt to make that 6 dominant. I know it sounds kind of wonky, right? But check this out. C major to A7. Or in this case I can go G, E7. It's kind of like an unexpected chord, but you can do that. You can do that in jazz music. So I'm doing this A7, and I need to have E as my melody note. And what I'm doing here is I'm just doing a bar at the 5th fret, and instead of playing this whole blocky A7 chord, I'm just opting to play the middle strings. So I have my root, flat 7, major 3rd, and 5th. So from here, and now we have what we consider an A7 altered chord, or an A7 sharp 5. So what I'm doing here is I have that A7, E, and then F. So that's like a sharp 5 chord because I'm raising that 5th to E flat, which is kind of cool. So I had this. And now my next chord here, as it's implied, you'll see that I made some changes here, is it was really F to G. Well, again, I want to make this a little bit more interesting and move the harmony a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to opt to play the minor 4. So this is another really, really cool technique. This is, again, another borrowed concept. Whenever you're playing a chord progression and you have a 4 chord, you can always interject the minor 4. So if ever you're just jamming on some chord progression, kind of going 1 to a 5 maybe, so I can do that. So I'm going 1, 5, 4, minor 4, back to 1. So I can do that, and that's exactly what I'm doing in this example right here. So I'm going. So this is a really, really great example of where I can interject some of these ideas and borrow some of these chords to make a piece a little bit more interesting. If I was to just play this as it was written, it sounds pretty boring. Not only is it kind of just dull, when I start to add some of these flavors, Super cool. So here's kind of the whole playthrough. Just measures, and then it measures 9 through 12. They all kind of repeat again. So here's the whole piece up into the bridge. So I have my C. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. So that's all the way up and through the first half. Thanks for sticking around, guys. I hope you really liked it. Let me know what else you would like to see next as far as other song arrangements, lesson tutorials, covers, and things of that nature. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.